Hey everyone, welcome back to the Book Cave with me, Jenny. So today I'm going to be starting a vlog about some literary fiction, literary horror books, and I have 3 of them. So the shortest one is It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over, and this is about a woman who is voraciously alive in the afterlife. She is adrift yet keenly aware, noting every bizarre detail of her new reality, and she has forgotten even her name. And then it just kind of follows her trying to come to terms with this. And yeah, it just sounded really interesting, and I kind of really like things like that. And yeah. Then I have The Nursery, and The Nursery is about a woman who has just given birth, and she is now at home, and it's like a little bit into her postpartum because, yeah, it says the joyful early days of her pregnancy give way to anxiety over the arrival of the baby and culminate in a painful personal reckoning. She's home alone with her newborn and ill at ease with the state of perpetual giving, carrying, feeding. The instinct to keep her baby safe conflicts with the intrusive thoughts of causing the baby harm, and she struggles to reclaim her identity as it seems to dissolve beneath her. So yeah, this is one that again was just kind of sounded interesting and decided to grab it. And this is also the second longest. And then the longest is Youth Juice. And this is about beauty influencers. And so yeah, this follows Sophia Banyan. And she starts at the storytelling team at Hebe, which is a luxury skincare wellness company based in New York's Soho neighborhood. And so she leads an outwardly charmed life and aches for a deeper meaning to her flat existence and a cure for her nail-biting habit. She finds it all. And she is addicted to the Hebe lifestyle, especially Youth Juice, the fatty, soothing moisturizer her boss has asked her to test. And yeah, it says they basically find out the truth about what Youth Juice is. And yeah, quite interesting. So all 3 of these obviously are different, but they do all follow, basically women at a crossroads in their life, which I didn't even think about that when I picked them up. But yeah, they kind of do. And they are all less than 300 pages as well. So It Lasts Forever is 123 pages. Then The Nursery is 189 pages. And Youth Juice is 273 pages. So I'm thinking that's probably the order I'm going to read them in. But yeah, I will let you know the next time I come and see you. So as I said, the first book I'm going to read in this is It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over. And this sounds very interesting. So it says, this is the co-winner of the novel prize, and it asks, how much of yourself can you lose before you are lost? And then what happens? The heroine of this haunting spare novel is voraciously alive in the afterlife. Adrift yet keenly aware, our undead narrator notes every bizarre detail of her new reality. She has forgotten even her name, but she remembers with unbearable longing the place where she knew herself and was known, where she loved and was loved. She heads west and into mind-boggling adventures, carrying a dead but laconically opinionated crow in her chest. It Lasts Forever and Then It's Over is one of the sharpest and funniest novels of recent years. And yeah, it just sounds really interesting. And like the cover kind of caught my eye as well. Just nice and simple, but yet, eye catching. And of course, I like green. So yeah. And obviously, this is very short. It's like 120 pages. So yeah, I'm going to get into reading this and update y'all when I have something to say. I might have a lot to say. We'll find out. So I finished It Lasts Forever, and then it's over. This is a very short book at only 123 pages, but it is a very odd little book as well, as should be pretty obvious from the synopsis. It follows the zombie apocalypse from the point of view of the zombies. And at first I was like, oh, okay, this is like basically the end of the zombie apocalypse when there's literally only zombies left. But you find out that apparently that's not entirely the case. And I feel like there could have been more done with that. And I do feel like this book could have been a little longer and have dived more into like that. But this is mostly an exploration of, I guess, what it means to be alive, what it means to love, and like deal with grief. But yeah, this was something I kind of had to sit with for a while to get my thoughts together on it. And it's still, while it's very good, I can honestly just say it's odd. It's a very odd little book that is definitely worth a read, though. And it's, like I said, very short. It's split into 7 parts, and each of the parts has an epigraph. And so, like, part 1 is Were Stories Telling Stories? Nothing, which comes from Fernanda Pessoa, I believe is how you say his name. And then you have these kind of like short little entries almost. That's what I would say. This honestly kind of reads like a diary, almost like a diary is being kept throughout everything. And it's very like stream of consciousness. And yeah, there was lots of interesting things in here. But yeah, if you enjoy kind of like odd books, I definitely think you would enjoy this. And I did wind up giving it like 5 stars. And then I love this here. Somebody blurbed it and they called it a freakish classic. And yeah, I can definitely agree with that. And I would definitely like to see if there's more by this author. And then I will be continuing on with The Nursery. That will be my next book. And this is a visceral and revelatory portrait of the joy and tumult of new motherhood that reveals how difficult and fragile those postpartum days can be, and how vital love is to pull anyone out of the dark. And yeah, this one just sounds very interesting as well, and like it will probably be pretty dark as well. But yeah, I will read some of this and then I'll let you all know what I think. So I finished reading The Nursery today as well, and this was again a very kind of odd little book. However, it was also very dark, so I find this one kind of hard to recommend. It was definitely a very dark look at motherhood, although I do feel like in the end you ultimately got hope. And yeah, it was also non-linear, which I do feel like that part wasn't a huge deal. It was fairly obvious when, like, the time skips would happen and everything, because you could just tell by kind of like what was going on and the woman's mental state. I did like the fact that she was a translator, and so we do get a little bit of discussion about like language and how not everything is translatable, although we honestly didn't get like a whole lot of that. There was a little bit mixed in here and there, and this is the second one, obviously, in this series where the narrator remains unnamed. And yeah, I just felt like overall it was very interesting, if dark, and kind of hard to read at times. But yeah, obviously now that I've finished this, I will be going into Youth Juice as the final book in this vlog. So I'm a little less than halfway through Youth Juice now. I'm at page 94. And yes, so far this has been a little confusing, but very interesting. We have different little snippets here and there that make me think one thing, and then it turns out, okay, no, it's actually this. And I did read, in the synopsis that Sophia, our main character, is looking for a cure for her brutal nail-biting habit. And for the first probably 30 to 40 pages, it was mentioned that she bit her nails and that she wore gloves to, like, cover up the scars and everything. And I was just kind of like, thinking about, okay, she bites her nails, just like this. And I was like, what are their scars from? And then we get a scene, and I will say you actually get to see exactly how brutal that is. And yeah. And then at that point, we also get into the Youth Juice. And we're kind of seeing some of the stuff with that. And this also has a lot more about kind of like corporate culture, I would say, and how, like, going out with your coworkers and your boss for, like, after work drinks and, like, meals and stuff, and how that can kind of, like, I don't know, kind of separate you from the rest of your life in a way. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where I'm going with that, sorry. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. It is definitely, I feel like, very modern day, and more so into like influencers, and then like hitting your 30s and just kind of like dealing with where you're at then versus where you like thought you would be. And then I will say as well, we are getting some flashbacks, and they are in 2008, during which she's in high school. I don't think it states like what year of high school, but I want to say it's probably either junior, maybe senior year, and kind of deals with that, and deals with her best friend as well. And there were some things with that I was kind of like, okay, where is this going to go? And another thing I find very interesting is you will read the, like, introduction, or, I'm sorry, yeah, the very first, like, 2 paragraphs. And you kind of know where this is going to end. And I find that very interesting because you know exactly where it's going to end. So it's kind of like watching it all unfold. And yeah, that is part of why I was thinking certain things and then was surprised when they weren't happening. And now, on a final note, sorry, I'm kind of all over the place here. The epigraph is a quote from The Picture of Dorian Gray. And it says, "The secret of remaining young is never to have an emotion that is unbecoming." And so if you know anything about The Picture of Dorian Gray, that is kind of like a very fitting story to have an epigraph from for this book. And it's also making me wonder about some other things in the plot. But yeah, I feel like I've rambled long enough, so I'm going to get back to reading and update you all probably when I'm done. So I finished Youth Juice now, and this was definitely an interesting book. It reminded me a little bit of My Year of Rest and Relaxation in the fact that, you know, our main character is in her like late 20s, early 30s, kind of wondering what to do with her life. Other than that, the plots were quite different, and I did find this plot pretty interesting, and I was very curious about a lot of things. And I did enjoy how it stayed, honestly, pretty realistic. I mean, obviously there are some things that aren't completely realistic, and I could actually see them more as being like a figment of the mind. And yeah, but overall I definitely do recommend this if you like literary fiction, if you like kind of like social horror as well. But yeah, definitely an interesting one. So that was the last book I have for this video. And as always, I hope you enjoyed it. And if you do, please hit like and subscribe down below. And then you'll be notified every time I post a new video. And I will see you next time in the book cave.